What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Chris, man. We are here at the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. It is Thursday, June 6, 2024. Game one of the NBA Finals is coming on tonight. Dallas, Boston. Should be a wonderful, wonderful series. But before we get to that, I got a special guest that I'm going to be bringing on today. She has worked as a Red Sox beat reporter for MassLive.com. She has been a freelancer, an editor, and she now currently holds that same role with the Athletic, Boston Red Sox. Her name is Jen McCaffrey. So we're going to come on here, talk about her why, talk about her inspirations, talk about her college choices, talk about all things journalism, get some of her favorite stories. We're definitely going to talk about some Boston Red Sox on here, and, just vibe with her. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Chris Drummond. I am a freelance sports reporter based out of Minnesota here. I also am a casino host, and I like to do this podcast, which is called Work Hard, Play Harder, talking to different individuals about their why and who they are outside of their occupation. So I'm definitely looking forward to talking to Jen and getting to know her for sure. So without any further ado, I'm bringing to you the lovely, the talented Jen McCaffrey. Hey, Jen, how we doing? Good morning.
Hold on.
Can you hear me?
You. Oh, now I can hear you. Sorry, yeah. Okay, I think we're all set.
Good morning. No problem. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. Just want to say, first off, thank you for hopping on my podcast. I really do appreciate it. And how's your week been going?
Sure. Happy to help. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's I don't even know what day it is, so that's that's the kind of week it's been.
I totally understand.
Yeah.
Definitely, totally understand that. I want to reiterate why I wanted to bring you on here before I start peppering you with all these questions. So obviously, you're a Boston Red Sox beat reporter for the Athletic, and you've been doing it for quite some time. You do amazing work that I've noticed, no question about it. And anybody that knows you knows that you do amazing work. I'm also a sports reporter as well, and I love talking to different reporters about their why, of why they do what they do and who they are as a person. I love networking and I love getting to know people outside of their occupation. So bringing you on was a no-brainer to me. We're definitely going to get into some Boston Red Sox talk, but I want to first obviously let you know again why I wanted to bring you on and have you on.
Cool. No, that's awesome. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, no question. As I always do, Jen, I start off with the number one question for all my guests, and it is, what is their why? What is your why of getting into sports journalism? Were there any role models growing up that you looked at? Did you always know that you wanted to do it, or did it fall into your lap by accident?
Yeah, let's see. I grew up watching sports, really, baseball in particular with my dad and grandpa, and like was really yeah, it was just like a big tradition for us watching all the games. I always liked writing and reading and kind of like growing up. I feel like I was encouraged by a lot of both my parents are teachers, but I was encouraged by a lot of my own teachers of just like to keep continue writing and pursuing writing because they um told me I was good and I was like, okay. I don't know, sometime in college or I mean high school, I was like, I think I could make a career out of this, like, or at least I want to see if I can. I didn't know if I could. So I decided to like major in journalism. Yeah, and like I started working for the school newspaper, covering sports, like our high school local teams, and yeah, applied to a bunch of journalism schools, got rejected by almost all of them. Finally got into Syracuse after like a wait list and then all this business. It was a weird senior year for me.
Mm,
Yeah, I got in and then just kind of started, I don't know, learning more. Like obviously, watching as a fan, like as a kid growing up is so different from doing it on a full-time basis.
No question.
So yeah, it was like just started learning how to, yeah, craft stories. And so yeah, the why was, I guess I just was like, I just enjoyed it. I always liked writing. I always liked sports. And yeah, I like telling stories and, not just like the games, but people's stories, like, players' stories, their families, all that kind of stuff to kind of humanize people. I
Sure.
think a lot of fans view athletes as sort of these like superhuman people that don't have real world issues. And I think I like to try to, there is a lot of, having to deal with games and, analysis and all that business, but I do enjoy the stories where I can kind of peel back the layers of a person's life, and kind of show the fan who these people really are, to an extent. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but I think the why just kind of was, I don't know, I don't really know. I always kind of wanted to do it, I guess, from like an early age, and I just kind of kept at it. It took a while to get to where I wanted to be, but like I just kind of felt compelled to keep doing it.
I love it. I do. Now, did you grow up there in Boston?
So I grew up like an hour south, actually, kind of like outside of Providence. But yeah, like in New England. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Okay, no, that's awesome. That is. And listen, I totally understand that answer, right? When you're covering baseball, especially MLB baseball, for people that don't know or that's living under a rock, baseball is 162 games. That's a lot of games.
yeah,
So, writing a lot of game stories, that will get kind of boring after a while. So you definitely got to look for other things to talk about, other people to talk about. Look for the story within a story, is what I like to say. What most people do, most reporters do, uh, going to cover these games and stuff like that. You talked about it a little bit, Jen. You said Syracuse University. My
yep,
father lives in upstate New York, so I'm very fond of Syracuse University. That was
nice.
actually one of the schools I wanted to go to, but money purposes kind of took that away, and I had to go to a
Yep,
state
yeah,
school that was a little closer. As you understand that. Talk
yep.
to me about what other schools, because you say you got rejected from some. Can you give some of those other schools that you ended up applying to before you committed to Syracuse University?
Yeah, I mean, because I kind of wanted to stay closer to home. As I applied to like all the Boston schools, BC, BU, Northeastern, Emerson. I either got,
Mhm.
yeah, waitlisted or rejected from all of them. And I had applied to like
Wow.
UMass and like Endicott and Quinnipiac. I think I got, remember, I applied to maybe like 8 or 10 schools because I was one of those, I was just like paranoid of, I applied to like everywhere. I think I
Sure.
got it. Yeah. I was almost gonna go to Quinnipiac, and then I always had a dream of like going to like a big like D1 sports school. And
Yeah.
it, as a 15 years later, like with hindsight, I don't think it necessarily mattered that I went to a big sports school. I think I could have gotten just as good an education at Quinnipiac, like with a smaller sports school or whatever. I'm
Yep.
glad I went to Syracuse, but I think like I think when I was in high school, the things that, you're thinking like, oh, I want to cover sports. I have to go to a school that has big sports program. When in actuality, if you get the foundations of journalism down, like that's what matters most, not necessarily that you're covering, D1 football or whatever. So, but yeah, yeah, it worked out. It was, like I said, a weird senior year. I finally got in like a week before I graduated high school to Syracuse. So I
Wow.
missed like all
Okay.
the orientation and everything.
Mm.
And similarly, like all the financial aid like that they had given out like earlier. So I like, yeah, I don't know if I'll ever finish paying off these student loans, but maybe someday when I retire. So we'll
Woo, I
see.
hear you on that.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, but no, I mean, I loved Syracuse. It was a very good education, and uh, I learned so much there. And yeah, worked at the Daily Orange, interned at the Post Standard, the newspaper up there,
Yep.
um, all that. Yeah. So and made, my best friends for life there. So I mean, it was definitely like a life-changing experience.
No question. No question about it. On with Jim McCaffrey, Boston Red Sox beat reporter, representing the Athletic on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. I want to ask you some favorite things. Okay, so I got some favorite questions here, and you just give me the 411 off the rip on what your favorite things are. Are you with me?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Favorite meal you like to cook?
Oh wow. I'm awful at cooking. So let's see. Really honestly just like something basic. I will do like roasted vegetables and like, like turkey, like kind of like a grain bowl type thing. Pretty simple. Yeah, working a lot of nights. I work nights and weekends the most of the year, so I
Yeah.
have to, yeah, take whatever's portable. So I don't really have the chance to delve into too many like elaborate meals or have had the time to learn too well how to cook. So
Yeah,
um,
Tupperware is our best friend, Jen. No question about it.
yeah,
Tupperware and stuff, getting stuff on the go. Maybe I don't know if you have microwaves where you at or stuff like that. Maybe you microwave a lot of stuff. I
yep,
totally get that. I'm a huge chicken person. Chicken
yep,
is very simple to make and it's good to go. So I'm with you on that totally.
yep.
Favorite concert you've ever attended?
Oh boy. Okay. I kind of run the gamut in terms of my music tastes. So like my top three would be like Run the Jewels, Foo Fighters, and Kendrick Lamar. I'm kind of like rock and rap, kind of a weird mix. But yeah, I saw Run the Jewels at like a time. Well, actually, and Kendrick. Kendrick did this like tour in 2015 at like venues that were like under 1,000. And we drove down to New York City, did it like in 6 cities or something. And we drove down
Yeah,
to New York City, went to Terminal 5. So it was, I don't know if it was 1,000, it was around like, it was small. That was an amazing show. It's probably, that's probably the best I've ever seen. But I saw Foo Fighters at Fenway. Like we had pretty good seats there, like on the turf. That was awesome. And they always put on a good show.
they
And yeah,
do.
I've seen Run the Jewels like 6 times, but they mostly at festivals. But I saw them at like one of my favorite music venues in Boston in a really small setting back in like 2015. That was awesome.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I'm kind of all over the map here, but
No, I like that. I do. Now, let me be transparent before I get to the next favorite. I did not hear of Run the Jewels until Killer Mike
oh
did
really?
something
Yeah,
with them. So I didn't hear them until Killer Mike did something with them. I love Dave Grohl, which is the
yep,
lead singer of Foo Fighters, for those that
yep,
don't know. And obviously Kendrick Lamar is one of my favorite.
yeah.
What do you think about the back and forth between him and Drake? Do you like the songs?
I did. I kind of like when it all started, I was like, Kendrick's just gonna kill this. Like I kind of
Mhm.
I've never been a huge Drake fan, notwithstanding everything, but I was just like, this is like no match. This is like in his wheelhouse. So and it wasn't surprising to see sort of the outcome, but it was very like a lot of my friends and coworkers know that I'm a very big Kendrick fan and I've seen him a couple times, and so we're
Sure.
kind of everyone was sort of like asking me for like what was happening, and it was kind of funny to try to like explain to people the background of what was happening and kind of the context of a lot of things.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
so that and like to just kind of see it in like mainstream news was interesting. Yeah, it was just kind of a different experience. So yeah, that was yeah, we'll see if anything else happens in the future with that. So
I hope it's not because I
yeah,
think Kendrick came with the knockout punch with Not Like
I think
Us.
he
I think
did.
that was
Yeah.
a knockout punch for
I think,
sure. What is your favorite Kendrick Lamar song? For me, it's hard to choose, no question, because his albums are really good. But
yeah.
I take it back to because I follow Kendrick ever since I Want to Be Heard. If you remember
Yeah.
that,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I go back that far with him. What is one of your favorite songs?
Man, I even go I like love like just like Section 80. Like I'll go back to that and
Ooh,
like
okay.
re-listen. Yeah, like I don't know, some of like the early stuff. But I mean, honestly, like my favorite oh God, it's hard. I'm so bad at like picking favorites, but the like the the songs that are just like so his songs are so narrative and tell like such a like you can just like see the arc of like everything that he's gone through, and it's just so that's what I like love the most about him. Not that others don't do it, but he just does it in such a I don't
Unique.
know. Yeah, from like a writing perspective, it's just like very interesting the way he like tackles different like even like something I'm thinking of like Keisha's song where it's like very like personal and like stuff. I don't know. It's just like very like heartbreaking, things
Right.
that like yeah, like he just like humanizes things that you don't even, yeah, that maybe things in society that are, people are going through, or painful, situations, but like the words that he uses and the context he uses are just so like moving. I
It is.
honestly, like, yeah.
It is.
But
It's
favorite,
different.
gosh,
It's
yeah,
different.
yeah. There's favorites that are like, ones that I like run to, and
Mhm.
and then there's ones that like lyrically I like, and then like there's one like beats that I like. So I don't know. It's hard.
Yep.
I'm so bad at like top 10 lists, but yes. I would say like more so though the old school stuff than kind of the newer
The
stuff.
newer. Yeah.
After like To Pimp a Butterfly, I still like a lot of that stuff. Like, like Duckworth is still like a top song for me, but like not none of the later albums haven't
So you
resonated.
like underground Kendrick more than mainstream Kendrick.
I like early Kendrick most. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Say less. I love that. I do. And listen, he's been bopping for a long time.
Yeah.
And people don't know that he's been going for a long time. One of the recent songs that I really love before I get to the next favorite question was 616 in LA.
Oh
That
yeah. Yeah.
you talk about storytelling, he
Yeah.
tells the story with that. And if you don't know what that means, you got to YouTube it, you got to look at it, look at why he chose 616. There's
Yep.
a plethora of reasons why he chose that. So
Yeah.
no question about that. Favorite sport you like to watch on TV, favorite sport you like to attend in person.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Um, I don't know. I'd probably say so. I early in my career ended up covering a lot of NHL. I covered the Bruins for like half a season. So I guess not a lot, but like more than I had. And I
Sure.
like had always liked hockey, but never was super into it growing up. And since then, I like am super into just watching it anytime it's on. Yeah, going in person. Um, I would say either, yeah, hockey or basketball. I'm never not kind of putting one or the other on. It's Celtics or Bruins, just kind of like watching, keeping up with kind of like both of them, honestly, throughout the season. In person, yeah. I don't know. It's hard to, yeah, one or the other. I guess maybe Celtics. I'll say Celtics in person, Bruins on TV, just because Bruins,
Sure.
I feel like maybe it's slightly easier to like follow on TV. But uh, yeah,
Yeah, they're both
that'll be
great.
my, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, both of them are great to watch. Don't get me wrong. No question, hockey or basketball is going to be a little busy out there today, obviously, for
A little
for
bit.
obvious reasons. No question. Last of the favorites, favorite restaurants that you like to eat at.
Oh gosh. Let's see. Let's see.
Oh, you smiling, so that means there's a lot to choose from.
I
Okay, I
mean,
like that.
I'm smiling because I'm so bad at picking like my top things. I feel like I never have a great
Oh,
answer, but um, favorite restaurant. I'll go with there's a really good place in Boston called Eastern Standard. They do a
mm,
really good job. Yeah. Kind of like, yeah, a mix of yeah, like American food, but like a good like kind of mix of like different dishes. Yeah.
okay. Now I do have a Boston question a little bit later in the podcast because I've never been there, and it's a place that I definitely would love to go to. So definitely need some recs. So I'm definitely gonna get to that. But this next question has to do about your everyday occupation. What do you do on a day-to-day basis? Now, obviously, beat reporters follow the team, write stuff about the team, stories about the team, cover the team. We just talked about it being 162 games, so the travel can be crazy. It's 81 at home, 81 on the road. Talk to me about the day-to-day work of what a beat reporter does. What is your process of getting ready for that? Because like you said, you work mostly nights and weekends, and you can work up to about 8 months or to 9 months of the year, literally going hard. So, talk to me about your day-to-day process.
Yeah, so in season, yeah, it obviously varies a lot, but I guess the average, more often games are 7 o'clock. So I'll give you like a 7 o'clock game because a 1 o'clock game is like yesterday is totally different than a 7 o'clock, obviously. But for a seven
Sure.
o'clock game, um, basically have the morning off. So I'll probably have worked the previous night. So I'll have gotten home around, 12:30 or 1. So I sleep in a little bit. I'll like go to the gym and kind of take the morning slow. Because that's kind of the nighttime for most people, I guess. The
Sure, sure.
post work
Yeah.
hours is like my pre-work hours. So yeah, my morning is sort of slow, and then I head into Fenway around like 2:45. We have clubhouse access with the players for interviews for about an hour from like 3 to 4 for a 7 o'clock game. And then around 4 o'clock, we'll meet with the manager, Alex Cora, for about 15, 20 minutes. And then directly after that is batting practice, where we have more access to talk to players if we didn't get them in the clubhouse before, which a lot
Mhm.
of times, like, we have that hour to talk to them, but a lot of times they're not in there. They're kind of like coming and going and whatever. So yeah, they have batting practice from like 4:30 to 5:30 or 4:15 to 5:15. So
Sure.
guys are kind of coming on and off the field, so you can kind of have a chance to interview coaches or players during that time. Then head upstairs to the press box and kind of work on anything like longer term, that you can maybe features and stuff, or transcribe some of the interviews you just did. And maybe you're trying to work on a feature that you might be running based off of that game tonight, but kind of depends on the game's outcome, if it matches up, or say the guy you're writing about a guy doing well and he goes 0 for 4 or whatever. So
Oh my.
yeah, you kind of gotta be fluid, I guess, with kind of
Mhm.
always have like 3 or 4 ideas in the back of your mind.
Okay.
um yeah, then grab the quick dinner that I have made. That's probably not the most appetizing thing. And then games at 7. Nowadays that we have the pitch clock, goes by much quicker. So they're about 2.5 hours as opposed to 3.5. Um,
Right.
and so after the game, head downstairs for interviews. Yeah, with the player. Well, first we go down to Cora first for about 10, 15 minutes. Then we go to Clubhouse for maybe about a half an hour, and anybody we need post game. And then I'll go back upstairs and write for anywhere from like an hour and a half, depending on what kind of game it is, like an hour and a half to 2 hours. But then I head home. So yeah,
Mm.
I'm either writing like off the game if it's like something important happened in the game, or like at the Athletic, a lot of times we'll write like more featurey type game stories. So something kind of honing in on something like specific within the game to kind of break out on, I guess, if you
Sure.
will. So it varies a little bit, but that, I guess, is sort of an average day in season. In the off season, like, we're still writing like all the moves and what they should be doing and what they haven't done and why haven't they done it, and like what's the payroll and who the prospects and all that business. But I try to keep the off season between like November and January much more like daytime. So I'll like go to a coffee shop and write a story for like the next day. But trades, like, unlike, the NFL and NBA and NHL, like MLB doesn't have a free agency deadline. So like,
Right.
I can't tell you how many times I've been out somewhere and a trade's happened or a free agent signing's happened, and I've had to like leave right from my car or right from my phone, or so like you're kind of on call 24/7 all off season because you don't really know when news is going to break.
Right.
So I generally try to keep the off seasons, those like 3 months, 3 to 4 months, like more daytime, because the rest of the year is nighttime mostly. But it varies. Yeah.
No, I understand, and I love that detailed type of thing because people need to know exactly what is the occupation of a beat reporter, right? I mean, you read about it in the listings, but you really don't know what it all entails as far as until you do it, right? So, talk to me about your beat reporting days when you first started and to now. Like, how is Jen different from beat reporting when she did it with Mass Live, now doing it with the
Yeah.
Athletic?
Yeah, it is. I've just I guess, one, I've made more connections and more contacts and sources, so I feel like I can strengthen stories by, you know, texting people for more information, or to make the stories like meatier or like more built out. And I guess just yeah, have more experience in kind of like finding the stories and finding the angles versus just kind of like I feel like in the beginning it was a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it was like this is what happened and this is what happened. And it's like, yeah, well, everyone kind of knows what happened, but like your job is to try to find like stuff that the fans don't necessarily see or know. And it's such a fast-paced thing in the beginning that you kind of are just trying to keep up, you know, so it takes time to kind of learn and find and develop those angles and different storylines. I think it just I leaned into kind of just being uh curious about the team, even though I think a lot of times as a beat reporter you're around them so much you don't realize how much that fans don't know. You kind of just it becomes second nature to you,
Second
and then
nature.
you kind of think about it, yeah, and you're like, oh, I bet they don't know about this guy, even though I know he's like this. I'm sure most people don't realize this. And so it's really just kind of stepping back and yeah, trying to like deliver those kind of stories, I think has helped me be a like help me stick around in this kind of in this industry because it is competitive, but also help me like yeah, just become, I guess, a stronger reporter in
Sure,
those kind of
absolutely.
yeah realms. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. On here with Jim McCaffrey, Boston Red Sox beat reporter for the Athletic, Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. If someone came up to you, Jen, whether it's maybe a graduate or maybe it's somebody that just wants to be in this industry, an intern or whomever, if someone came up to you and said, "Hey, I would love to be a beat reporter one of these days," is there any advice that you can give me? What advice would you give that individual?
Yeah, I think it's just, whatever you want to do, just find someone, read as much as you can. Like read if you're interested in a topic, just kind of read anybody and everybody that uh reports on that. And you'll start, I feel like, to learn and to understand like how people craft things and kind of like who you want to start to follow more closely, who you want to kind of start to, yeah, like emulate more. I think that's like the number one thing. I think a lot of younger people like trying to get into the industry just think it happens like automatically. And like you kind of have to, yeah, one, just study like the craft, I guess, a little bit, and not to be like a not not to make it sound more than it is, but just like study how people like do the job and like immerse yourself in it, so it becomes easier and easier over the years as you do it. But I
Hmm.
think too, just kind of yeah, being open to early in my career, I started, I mean, I didn't have a job for like uh a year after I graduated. I lived at home and worked like multiple part-time jobs and like
Sure,
freelanced and all that.
sure.
And my first full-time job was covering high school sports for about 4 years. So I feel like you just have to be open to any opportunities that kind of come your way and not necessarily be like, oh, I don't want to cover high school sports or I just want to cover the pros. And it's like you don't just jump into it that way. So I think you have to be open to learning. So learning by reading others, but also learning by getting your feet wet with yeah, with like those kind of jobs that you start out at, and not necessarily jump into the main uh realm of things right off the bat.
Sure, absolutely. And I totally understand that. Back in 2020, um, when I knew I kind of wanted to do this, I first wanted to be a math teacher, Jen. And I was
Nice.
like, okay, I like math, but I don't like calculus. So I was like, hell no, can't do that. So I pivoted to communication. I love sports. I love talking about sports. I love writing sports. So in 2020, I sent my resume out to about 25 different publications. I'm now based here in Minnesota, but I was in Atlanta at the time. A couple of publications came back and responded, and I started off as a stringer, like you said. I started off as a stringer covering high school sports. I covered football, and then I covered basketball in that season. I covered baseball and lacrosse. Ultimately, I kept doing that for year, and then I went full time here to where I was covering. Now I'm covering 12 different high schools and a college,
Nice.
and covering all different kind of sports. So I love that, but I'm also doing freelance stuff as well. So it it goes to the point of what you said is most people that graduate or most people that want to try to jump into the pro life or try to, skip letters and not do ABC and just try to go to F, it's not going to happen like that. Majority of the time, you got to get your feet wet, like you said, get into the door, read, maybe shadow somebody, and then maybe just make the mistakes right at
Yeah.
the lower level, before you even get to the point where you can be on the athletic. Like you said, you covered high school sports, you went to Math Live, you didn't just jump to the athletic. So it's wonderful to hear your transition to that. It's also wonderful to hear you speak of that, and it's a great segue because when you're working as much as you work, and when you say that you get breaking news when you're in coffee shops and you got to do this and that, sometimes it takes a toll on your mental health, which is the next question that I want to get into. Sports is nights and weekends, right? And we know that. Sometimes your social life suffers. I know mine has, no question about it at times.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how do you maintain good mental health, but also maintain good work-life balance? Like you said, you work 9, 10, 11 months of the year. Even in the off season, you're still working. How do you maintain good mental health and a work-life balance?
Yeah, that's honestly been like one of the biggest struggles of all of this. That I think you get into it thinking like, oh, this is the dream job, and people are always telling you the dream job. But and it is in a lot of ways, it's what you want to do, but it's also
Sure.
like difficult. Yeah, balancing a lifestyle that is like very different from like most people's schedules. So yeah, I very, very much with it in the beginning of my career. And I was like guilty that I was struggling with it because I
Mhm.
thought I finally got to where I wanted to be at covering pro sports, and then I was like, why am I feeling like this? So yeah, a lot of therapy, a lot of like people helping and being supportive over the years. Yeah, there were some it's been hard. Yeah, I don't know. It's it's hard to explain, but yeah, it does take a toll on you mentally because you are always having to be on even when you have time off.
Right.
Um you're so like the job, like it sounds weird, but this job is so much of like my life and identity that like even when I have time off, it's hard to step away. So
Mhm.
I have like actively had to, and it's been more so over the past few years as I've gotten older and realized I needed to carve more of like a personal life for myself,
Sure.
that I have tried to like set more boundaries with like, no, like I'm off, I'm not gonna, someone on our like news desk can handle this, or it's
Sure.
okay if this one thing gets missed, like it's not going to define my career, or I get beat on this thing or whatever. But yeah, it takes your work really hard to get to where you are to kind of pull back, or like try to help preserve your mental health.
Yep.
Feels like unnatural at times.
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of people in this industry are very like hard on themselves and competitive and
No question.
always, yeah, wanting to
Yep.
be, the first or the best or whatever, and to a detriment, yeah, and of their mental health and kind of personal relationships. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's that honestly like was something when I started out. With the job, like whenever I do talk to college students and younger people, is something I always mention of like, I know this is viewed as like the dream job, but just kind of keep in mind that you are going to be on a very opposite schedule of a lot of people, and it feels isolating in a lot of ways. And
Sure.
like,
Sure.
um, you kind of just have to like keep that in mind of, is that the lifestyle um, that you want? And if it is, cool, but you gotta like, yeah, find ways to balance everything so you don't get kind of like all consumed by it, because yeah, you can definitely sort of fall into that trap just the way that it's set up. So Yeah, it's definitely been a challenge over the years learning that about
Hmm.
myself and kind of like figuring out how to manage it all.
I appreciate your openness and transparency. I really do. And you're absolutely right. It's a question that's worth asking because a lot of people do not know the behind the scenes, right? They see you on sometimes on TV, maybe on a podcast, maybe in an article. They might read your stuff and they're like, man, she's really talented. She really loves what she does. But they don't know kind of behind the scenes of what Jen goes through, right? And there's a lot of things that you do go through in this industry, like you said. There's nights and weekends. You're always having to be on. Sometimes you have rough days too. And sometimes it's like, man, do I get a chance to sit down and kind of digress and be like, man, can I somehow get over my rough day? Right. Mental health is very hard. And I'm glad you said what you said about boundaries because me being older, I'm in my 30s, Jen. I'll be transparent with you as well. If I was in my 20s, I probably would not handle it as well because I'll be in prove it mode and I want to just go, 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 go all the time, say yes to everything, want to do everything, learn everything. And like you said, I want to be the first or the best. I think now, like, because there is some goals outside of covering sports that I have. So, like life goals is what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. And I want to be able to enjoy that, but I also want to be able to understand that I still have a job to do, but boundaries must be set. It's okay if I say no every now and then. I don't have to say yes all the time. A lot of people get scared of doing that because, you know, it might affect their bottom line. But for me, just being older with the mindset that I have, it's impossible for me to say yes all the time. It just
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think when that was part of all of it, like when I was younger, I was saying yes to too much probably and put myself in a bad spot a lot of times because it just was overwhelming or yeah, too much. And I didn't realize or didn't understand why I couldn't handle it all. So yeah, I think I was forced to kind of realize, I could only do so much. And I also, I was always kind of trained or like entrenched in my mind. Everything had to be 100%. And I was like, it's okay if it's 95%. Like, it's not going
Right.
to be, you know, um, I'm still like, I still feel like I am giving, max effort on everything, but like, it doesn't have to be perfect all the time. And I feel like,
Right.
yeah, for a lot of my life, I was being like too perfect on things and trying to be too perfect on things. So yeah, and saying yes to everything and trying to, make an impression on everything. And now, yes, that I'm older and kind of have done this for a while, yeah, am much more, yeah, I try to just figure out like what I can take on, yeah, and it's still a struggle. Like there's definitely, but yeah, like I think it's gotten a little easier as time has gone on to figure out what, yeah, just like kind of what works and how to make it work into the rest of
Right.
your life.
Right. How to navigate through it. Right. How to navigate through it. Come to the portion now of doing this or that. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw two things at you. You
Okay.
choose one or the other. Okay. So here we go.
Okay.
First up is Popeyes or KFC.
We'll go Popeyes.
Okay. We off to a good start, Jen. We off to a good start. I love it. Do you eat chicken wings?
I do.
Okay. Barbecue or lemon pepper?
Barbecue.
Okay. Do you like your wings wet or dry?
Uh, More dry most of the time.
Okay. Do you like them bone in or boneless?
So I should like the bone in more, but honestly, the boneless is so much easier and you get more of the chicken. So, uh, boneless.
That's okay. That's all right. Listen, I disagree with people saying it's nothing more than a chicken nugget. I don't care. I eat it with a
It
fork.
just,
I dip it in
yeah,
my sauce.
you
I'm
get
good.
more. Yeah. Sometimes the bone in is just really hard to eat sometimes.
Right. And it's messy. It's messy all the time. So
Yeah.
I'm good with it. So, okay. I'll rock with you on that. Here we go. Tom Brady or David Ortiz?
Ortiz.
Okay. Next question here has to do with music. The next three questions. Which concert would you go to? Which concert would you attend? J. Cole or Big Sean?
Ooh. Uh, J. Cole.
Okay. Which concert would you attend? Would you rather go to Breaking Benjamin or would you rather go to Daughtry?
Probably Breaking Benjamin.
Okay, there we go. Which concert would you rather go to? Would you rather go see Maroon 5 or would you rather go see AJR?
AJR.
You was very quick on that one. Okay. All right.
That was the first concert that I saw.
Okay. I love both of the groups, so that's why I had to throw that out there. Okay, I like that. Which sport would you rather play? Bowling or badminton?
Oh. I'll go bowling.
Are you a good bowler?
No, but I've done it much more. And badminton, I feel like, yeah, I just don't have the coordinate. Not that you do need coordination for bowling, but I feel like I flail around a lot. So badminton would be not great for my coordination skills. I feel like lack of.
Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong before I get to the next this or that, but it seems like you are one of those maybe bowlers that like to drink more than bowl. Am I right with that?
Yeah, that's probably accurate. That's like the
Okay.
activity. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do you need the bumpers?
I can do it without the bumpers. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I can go bowling with you then, Jen. We
Yeah.
good. Because anybody
can,
with the bumpers that's a grown person, I can't do it. I can't do it.
That's the kitty one. Yeah.
Yes. Here we go. Okay, more of this or that. Okay. Do you eat desserts?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to throw 4 desserts out. You have to eliminate one of these that you'll never eat again. Are you with me?
Got it.
All right, here we go. First one is cookies. Okay. The next one is cakes. So that's any kind of cake. The next one is ice cream. Okay. The last one is candy. Which one are you getting rid of?
Probably cake.
Okay. Okay. I got you. I would have probably got rid of the candy myself, but cake, I feel
I'm
that.
thinking like I'm like a big chocolate person, or like Reese's. So like I don't necessarily want like like sugary candy, but like any kind of chocolate candy, I would be sad if I didn't have. So
I feel that. I feel that. Okay. Do you eat potato chips?
Yep, I do potato chips. Yep.
Okay, so this is the same format. I'm throwing 4 different companies out. You got to get rid of one of them. Okay, so here we go. One is Doritos.
Yep.
Okay, second one is Lay's. The third one is Ruffles. The last one is Pringles. Which one are you getting rid of?
I'm going Lay's.
I feel that. I would have got rid of Lay's too.
Yeah, I like. Yeah. They're not. The others have more variety, I feel like.
They do. The greatest chip ever made in my mind is the sour cream and cheddar Ruffles. That's the greatest
those are good.
ever.
Yes. Yep. I know what you're talking about. Those are good.
Mm-hmm. Delicious. Okay, I like that. Here we go. One more of the this or that, and this has to do with music concerts. Which concert would you rather attend? Okay. Would you rather go see Lil Wayne or would you rather go see Drake?
Oh man. So I know I said I'm not the biggest Drake fan, but I feel like I probably still should see him at some point in my life. So
Okay. Yes, you should, by the way. His concerts are amazing. It's amazing.
I know. Yeah, I know. All right, we'll go with Drake.
Okay, Drizzy. All right, I love it. All right. Now, obviously, Jen, I got you on here, so we're going to talk about some Boston Red Sox baseball. Okay, this is obviously in your backyard, your specialty. Right now, they're 500 flat. They played 62 games. They've won 31. They've lost 31. I'm going to be honest with you, Jen. Coming into the season, I was damn worried about the starting pitching of this team. Very concerned. Obviously, we're losing Giolito and them not really having anybody that I thought that could really be that ace or really carry the team. But they have been a surprise. The pitching has been actually not that bad. It's actually been more so the hitting than the pitching, in my estimation. I mean, losing Costas and losing Story wasn't really good. But O'Neal has been great this year. Devers is starting to come around finally because he had a very slumping start to the season. Talk to me about the Red Sox expectations this year. Like I said, they have two of the top 5 teams in baseball in their division, in the Yankees and the Orioles. Trying to catch those teams is going to be very tough. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, the expectations were they were going to be in the bottom of the division. So, I mean, the fact, in some senses, obviously, people around here wish they were much better than 500. But in other senses, I think people are surprised that they are 500. The pitching has been, yeah, the pitching over especially the first month was the best they've had in franchise history, the lowest ERA they had in 120 years.
Okay.
And it came from, yeah, you mentioned Giolito was their big offseason signing and had Tommy John surgery in March,
Yep.
right after, his first spring training outing. So it came from all these younger guys, not necessarily young guys, but guys that have been in the system that have been slowly kind of pulling things together. And you have to kind of like look at Tanner Houck, who they drafted back in 2017, made his debut in 2020, but it's kind of been up and down and, in the rotation and the bullpen. And he's been lights out this year. He has one of the lowest ERAs in baseball. It's sub 2 ERA. He's just been like their rock day in and day out. And he's really just kind of come into his own this year in every aspect. And then the rest of the guys, like Nick Pavetta's been having a really good season. Cutter Crawford, is started off very, very good. And the past few outings haven't been as great. But by and large,
Right.
starting pitching in general has really sustained them. And the offense, like you said, has not. And I think a large part of that is just they have one of the youngest teams in baseball. They have some nights they're starting 5 rookies. Obviously Ceddanne Rafaela is out there in the outfield, Wheeler Abreu in right field. A lot of these names people don't even really know because they're just guys that are up and coming and not necessarily top prospects.
Right.
They are, Red Sox fans might recognize them, but even a lot of Red Sox fans don't know some of these guys. They've got, even a guy like Vaughn Grissom, who they traded for Chris Sale for over the winter, has been out with injuries. And so, Devers had a little bit of a slow start to the year because he doesn't really have anybody hitting around him. Casas got hurt so early on, or about a month ago, even Masataka Yoshida, and then Story was the one that got hurt within the first week of the season. So really had no protection in the lineup. He's really started to come around over the past, honestly, month or so, three weeks or so. And has been really kind of carrying them. But yeah, the offense has been so hot and cold that's kind of cost them a lot of games. And so is the defense. So they could be better. Like it's funny to think that, entering the season, we thought they were going to be completely awful. They've been much better than expected, but they could be better if they shored up their defense, which was brutal the first month, and it has gotten better this past month. And if they could find a little more consistency on offense, they do have Casas is supposed to be coming back in the next few weeks, Yoshida too. So, I mean, they do have some guys in O'Neal. Yeah, obviously we mentioned O'Neal, he's battled a few injuries, but he's, they're trying to be mindful of him to kind of make sure he can, keep doing what he's doing. So yeah, it's been one of those weird seasons where you look at the record and it looks like they should almost be better than that. But then there's been so many nights where they could have won this game and they, gave it away with errors or, got shut out by a pitcher that they should have been able to hit. So it's been a weird year in a lot of ways, but I think it's been interesting. And there's been a lot of storylines for us to kind of like dig into. That's been good. So.
Yeah, absolutely. On here once again with Jen McCaffrey, Boston Red Sox beat reporter for the Athletic, Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. I asked that question because you have been battling a lot of injuries. I think to me, Hawk should be considered for the All-Star. I think just the way that he's been playing, because he has been lights out, he definitely should be considered as either probably not the maybe like starter, but a pitcher that should be in the AL, American League All-Star team. I also think that me coming into the season, I said, okay, Boston might be 4th because I really thought that they would be better than the Rays. I thought the Rays would kind of be down this year. I didn't think that Toronto would struggle as much as they've been struggling, but it's still early, right? We're only 62 games in. We have 100 and well, actually 98 more games to go, if I'm not mistaken, doing my math. So we still have a lot of games left. So, and Boston's not that far out from the wild card, obviously. I don't know if they're going to catch the Yankees. The Yankees got off to a really hot start. But saying that, these next 15 games, they have series with the Padres. They have series with the Reds. They have 2 series with the Toronto Blue Jays. And they also have the top 2 teams in baseball in Philadelphia and the Yankees coming into Boston. How pivotal is these next 5 series for the Boston Red Sox to kind of build some momentum going towards the half point of the season, and which will probably be close to the All-Star break?
Yeah, it's big. I think we've all been looking at this. So they're playing a 4-game series in Chicago like this weekend against the White Sox, who have obviously been really scuffling. So I think they realize they need to really take advantage of this series, because next week they're hosting the Phillies and the Yankees, so 2 of the best teams in baseball. So that's going to be a really tough week. But then beyond that, yeah, the schedule does lighten up a little bit, and they really need to, just take advantage of it and show that what they can be, to convince Craig Breslow, the chief baseball officer, that he should make some moves to help the team. The past few years at the trade deadline, they've kind of gotten rid of more than they've added. And even over the winter, part of the reason why everyone thought they were going to finish last is because they just didn't add enough to the roster to kind of push them over the edge. So
Right.
It really is going to be, how does Breslow and the front office kind of view this team? Do they view them as a team that needs a few pieces to push them over the edge and contend? Or do they view this team as, a 500 team that wait another year? I think they're asking a lot of fans. They're asking for a lot of patience from fans, and it's worn thin in the past 4 or 5 years. Around here have been not what people, expected. Obviously, they won the World Series in 2018, but every year since then, aside 2021 was, an unexpected, surprising playoff push, but every other year has been a losing season, a last place finish. It's been, people are, and they still are paying, and asking for the top ticket prices in baseball. So people are understandably angry that they're not investing as much in this team as, they're asking fans to invest. So I'm curious to see with Breslow's first, trade deadline, how that's going to play out. If this team has, like I said, exceeded some expectations, and is he going to lean into that, or is he going to look at this team isn't worth investing in, and we should just kind of keep building for the future, which is the narrative that they've been pushing for the past few years, and it's been frustrating for fans. And there's been a very vocal group of people that have been just turned away from the team. That they're not selling out games at Fenway like they used to, because people are just frustrated with the direction overall. So I wonder how the team obviously needs to perform, and obviously if they go out the next month or so and are sub 500 over the next 30 games, and obviously they're not going to make many moves. But if they stay right in it and can be competitive, and Breslow still doesn't add, I feel like it's going to be more anger and frustration and resentment from the fan base.
Oh, no question about that. And see, that's the tricky thing about it, Jen, is like, my heart, I'm a Padres fan, because I grew up in San Diego. So I understand frustration, and I understand spending money for tickets and not being a winner. I understand that. But with the Boston Red Sox, it's a tricky situation, because number one, they're doing good enough. They're just doing good enough, right? They're not like terrible, but then they're not like all that great. So I don't know if you want to, I don't know if there's anybody at the trade deadline that's going to put this team over the top, right? Because to me, I think they need a few pieces, in my opinion. I think the offense can use another type of kind of hitter to protect Devers. I think the pitching rotation could use another arm, although there's young guys. But I just think that, in my opinion. But I totally understand what you're saying. Ever since 2018, it hasn't been consistently good. And I didn't even know about the top ticket sales being like that in Boston. I had no idea. But yeah, people ain't gonna want to pay top dollar prices and their team is having low level results. That's just not gonna happen on a consistent basis. So it's gonna be interesting to see for sure what the GM and that hierarchy staff up there for the Red Sox do to try to get this team over the hump. For sure.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
So the next question that I have for you is, if Jen wasn't a sports writer, what profession would she have pursued and why?
When I was really little, like loved animals and thought I wanted to be like when I was like in elementary school, like a vet. But yeah, I realized I wasn't really going to be able to get through med school and kind of all the, classes, science that was going to have to, take into that. So yeah, like I don't know. I honestly I don't know currently if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, what I would do. There's not really anything I've like ever thought like, oh, I'd want to do that otherwise. Um, yeah. So yeah. But when I was little, it was definitely like a big still am a big animal lover.
I love it. I love it. We got the final three questions here on the Work Hard, Pay Harder podcast. This next question has to do, we talked about advice you would give someone, but now what is some advice that someone has gave you that you hold on dearly to?
Um, yeah, I think just kind of the sort of similar to what I had said earlier. It's just, yeah, kind of be open to opportunities that kind of come your way and not, we were talking about obviously being like judicious and making sure you say yes to the right things, but I think also just not like pigeonholing yourself in like one like yeah avenue. Like I want to cover baseball, I'm only going to look for baseball jobs. I feel like I covered a ton of Patriots at Mass Live. I covered, like I mentioned, the Bruins, Celtics games here and there, and like yeah, obviously the high school sports, but then all these other kind of club and recreational sports over the years when I was at the Cape Cod Times. And so I feel like you kind of just have to yeah learn on the go and be willing to be willing to kind of take the opportunities that do come your way, but just like make sure they're aligned with like the path that you want to be on, I guess.
No, I love that answer. I do. I told you I had a Boston question for you. I do plan on going to Boston. I have a list of stadiums that I've been to already, which has been 13 of them. I
Nice.
want Fenway Park is one I have not been to. So I need to know when I touch down in Logan Airport, which I believe that's where Boston is, what should I do? What is like the first like three things I should do when I touch down in Boston?
So yeah, obviously Fenway. Let's see. I feel like the North End is always like a big place to go for food, Italian food. It's the big
Okay.
kind of it's a good area just to kind of like walk around. A lot of history. That's where a lot of the American Revolution stuff, history is tied to the Paul Revere Church, where everything kind of got started. Like the state, like the old state house. There's just a lot of like, I feel like the history is, the beginning of the country. A lot of it is like all right in Boston. So I feel like a lot of those, if that's your thing, you can find it just kind of walking down the Freedom Trail is kind of a free self-guided. You can do it self-guided. You can do it with like a paid tour of just, kind of, it's like a mile long, takes you through different historical points throughout the city. You know, the burial grounds for like Sam Adams and Paul Revere and all that. And past some of the very, historic places. But the Seaport is a really cool area for just like, outdoor music venue, but also just a lot of like restaurants by the water, and like a
Ooh, I
good
like
time in
that.
the sun. Yeah, I really like the Charles River kind of like splits Boston and Cambridge, and I really like running over there. But it's just kind of a nice, even like walking or biking path. And I feel like honestly, it's a very walkable city, so you can really just like start in like, the public, even in the North End and walk all the way to Fenway. It's a few miles, to be honest. It's not like Chicago or Atlanta where it's like or LA where it's like a sprawl. In New York City, it's like a sprawling city. You theoretically, get quicker around with public transportation or Ubers, but like it's such a small city that walking around, I feel like everywhere is the best, kind of one of the best ways to do it. So, through all the kind of major neighborhoods, this, South End is a big restaurant neighborhood. Yeah,
Okay.
like there's and obviously, if you're into like art museums and that kind of stuff too, the MFA is like the big one here. So yeah, I feel like you can always cross over to Cambridge. You go to like Harvard Square and go walk around Harvard, and that's a good area for restaurants and shops too.
I love that. I really do. This is my final question. Now that you've been on my Work Hard, Play Harder podcast, I need you to give me two more names that you think would be pretty cool for it to come on here. Now, one of the names, both of the names, you got to help me get on. But one of the names that I had in mind was Gabrielle Starr.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Say it again.
Yeah, I said that's one of the names that I had in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, she just started covering the team a year ago. And yeah, you could do her. I'm trying to think who would be a good do you just do reporters or like people like in other like photography or like social media or like any?
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
reporting is what I do. So,
Yeah.
but I do it all. So I just want to learn about people and their occupation and their why.
Yeah. Okay. Let me think.
Hmm. I know I put you on the spot for
Yeah,
sure. And I'm
that's
sorry,
okay.
I really
No,
am.
that's
But
okay. I'm trying to think. Yeah. Trying to think. Uh, let's
ooh,
see.
okay. I like it though. I like the wheels going and you thinking like that. That's for
I'm just
sure.
trying to think of all the people that I've worked with or that yeah, that would be like
Sure.
a good conversation. Um,
Now, with that in mind, is there anything else you also would like to add before we conclude?
um, no, I don't think so. No, I appreciate the conversation and the kind of the wide-ranging topics. I feel like it was a good conversation. It was yeah, it was enjoyable. So thank you. I appreciate it.
No, that's great. That's awesome. I think you're amazing in what you do, covering this team. Obviously, I hope that the team makes the playoffs, and I hope that you continue to have much success in covering the team. You can definitely let me know that name
Oh
offline for
yeah, I will.
sure.
Let me think. Yeah, I'm trying to like think of like who would be good. Yeah, I will.
No,
I
you're
will.
good.
Yeah,
You're totally good. And when I do touch down in Boston, I'm gonna have to hit you up. I'm gonna have
totally.
to.
Yeah, let me know. I would love to. Yeah, meet up and kind of show you around and hopefully give you a good impression of Boston.
That would be absolutely amazing. Once again, this is Jen McCaffrey, Boston Red Sox beat reporter for the Athletic. Thank you very much, and you enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
All right, you too. Thanks so much.
No problem.